Hi, my name is Justin. I recently had the opportunity to speak with John Liwag. He is a graphic designer, film director, and photographer. I first came across his work when I saw James Ivy's music video for Pushin' Through It, which he directed, edited, and shot. He was a part of G-Eazy's team from the years 2011 to 2018. He was also the in-house filmmaker, photographer, and designer for Future Classic. This is a conversation about how he got his start and his journey throughout the years. I hope this gives more insight as to how he got to where he is now. So enjoy.
I know that you actually dropped out of college in 2010 and you started an internship.
Yeah, yes, exactly. It was very slow. I dropped out of school with very little, like with no clients. Like everyone says to make sure you have a plan of attack prior, but I was just so new and such an outsider that I thought any steps forward, whether it was just starting a free blog or something, was advancing my career in more of the way that I wanted it to be. Mm-hmm. In college, I went to a community college in my hometown, and I was a journalism and graphic design major. And in my journalism classes, they wanted me to intern at the local newspaper. And I was just blogging was massive at the time. And I was like, why are you guys focusing on these stories? And I don't care about any of it. In graphic design, my teachers didn't really have the taste level, what I thought was taste level, but I was just more so interested in cover art and merch and posters and things in the music industry that I eventually ended up designing in the future anyways. And so I was I'd rather just learn from YouTube and look at things I like on Tumblr and ask my graphic design friends how I would actually make those things. And I created my own curriculum. Mm-hmm. And the thing that kind of set me over the edge of making the decision to leave school entirely was I combined both journalism and graphic design into a magazine, a physical magazine. And I thought it was going to be the biggest thing of all time. And it ended up like no one cared really. It was just my best friend and a random rapper named Gerald from the internet, and who ended up having a flourishing career. His name is G-Eazy. Yeah. And he found me super organically. I think it was incredibly random, but then he kind of gave me a shot to be hey, let's work on some stuff together. And as his career grew, I just stayed on his team for 6 years.
That's fantastic. I did find that story particularly crazy because around 2010, 2011, that was one of my favorite eras of G-Eazy, which is crazy.
That's awesome. I didn't know you were a fan.
No, I used to listen to his music all the time in middle school, which is awesome.
He's so inspiring. And there's those documentaries on showing the touring and everything he had going at the time. Still is he's just a certified pop star now, but his glow up and coming from very humble beginnings and putting the whole team on, he's just as positive of a person as he comes across in his music.
Yeah. That's awesome. It's crazy. I feel as if you're kind of an anomaly because of G-Eazy's success and that you're a part of it. That's not necessarily common, but that happened pretty early after you dropped out of college, right?
Yeah. I mean, when you zoom out, it's that happened pretty fast, but I left in 2010 and then I didn't fully sign a real deal. He didn't really get signed until 2013. But so we were working together and we were familiar, but they were very shoestring budgets. But it was awesome because the way that they were doing stuff and gaming the system, or having strategy, I guess. If you have no money and you're making music in your college dorm room, the way you market your music is you can't pay for anything, so you have to just build relationships. And he was befriending all of these bloggers, and blogs at the time was just how it was the Spotify playlist at the time. And if you were posted on a bunch of blogs, it looked like you were a buzzing artist and more people would look your way. And that's why he was originally following me, because I was blogging for free for other music sites, and he found my name and followed me on Twitter. But then once he started following me, I was talking about my magazine and designing my own personal projects. But yeah, I would say my big break was honestly when he got signed to a label. Then he officially brought me on as a an employee and part of the team and with a consistent check. It wasn't like per project anymore. And then that allowed me to like be able to move out of my parents' house and make it like, I knew the minimum amount that I can make every month because it was like, I had that one deal.
So before that, you were doing like freelance stuff and doing per project?
Yeah, it was so difficult, but thank God I just worked at I just lived at my parents' house, and I tried to do things as a designer. Like I had a short stint like at a small business where I would be their in-house designer and trying out just different roles. I really was passionate about fashion, and I interned at a PR fashion showroom situation. Felt like that wasn't really for me, or like, I don't know, like money was really hard because I also needed to, as much as I wanted to just be creative and make cool stuff, the reality is that these things are like, you're providing a true service, even if you are just starting out.
You got a job at Future Classic in 2018?
Yeah.
How did that come about?
So I was working with G-Eazy as a designer, as graphic designer for like 7 years or something like that. And I think every single person I knew from the music industry was from that world. And I was just going about LA social circles of just being like, I'm G-Eazy's designer, G-Eazy's designer. And I was like, I'm a lot more than that. Like, I'm really proud of the work that we had done, but like, I was also wanting to be more of a director and photographer. I think that's always where I imagined myself to be, and being lumped in as just purely a graphic designer, I was like,
a single artist for so many years. Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to bite the hand that fed me, but I also need to do what I've set out here to do. Like, and so I pivoted, and I didn't want to just work for other rappers or his contemporaries or whatever. So I really wanted to shift entire genres. Feel like my personal taste in music was like going more in the electronic world and like fusing hip hop. Like, I grew up loving hip hop, but like, I feel like right now electronic production has been super exciting to me. And my favorite artist at the time was like Flume. And Flume is amazing. And like, I watched this random documentary on him, and then I'm like a nerd, so like I was like, who made this documentary? It was really well made. And then there was one on them, which was Future Classic, his label. And then I was like, oh my gosh, wait, these guys seem really cool. And they have an office here in LA. So let me just like write them an email, just introducing myself, of just saying, I love what you guys are doing. And I didn't realize that you guys were a part of so many different cool things that I've enjoyed over the years.
Yeah, actually, I was a huge fan of Flume at that time too. And then like, just me being a fan of him brought me to Future Classic also. And I also found out about Taku. I actually started off as a producer, and the people that inspired me was like Flume or Skrillex and all of them. So yeah, I definitely was trying to like bite their styles and stuff. So they were huge.
It's not biting styles. It's just like, they're so innovative. Like to name drop Skrillex and Sophie and say like, we're biting them. That's like an artist. That's like a singer that's like, oh yeah, I'm inspired by Drake, but it's like Drake is like number one.
That's fair.
It's like, kind of can just go that direction.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Future Classic. They gave me an opportunity I was the only creative person in that office. Like, it was just a bunch of managers, and one of the co-founders was a creative director. But she was more of like a mom, and like, had just done so much production over the years. She just had incredible taste, and we would work together as a team, and she would help guide me from like a 30,000 feet view. And I would just chuck on headphones every day and either be shooting stuff in our studios, or like editing different things, or designing merch collections for Flume. And it was a really, really, really creative time. And then that was like I feel like a second wind of my career, honestly, was working for Future Classic. And I think that gave me the confidence again that the vision has always been for me to have my own thing and run my own thing. And I realized from all the people I met from the G-Eazy era to the new people I was meeting during the Future Classic era of my career, that I was just like, okay, wait, maybe I can just like go solo. And I have enough in my portfolio and enough of momentum.
So you left Future Classic in 2020?
Yeah, last summer, like right when the pandemic was dang, we're recording this is on record. No, I'm just kidding. Right as the pandemic was like, the world was opening up in LA over the summer. I just had to trust my gut, and I was like, I think I'm ready to hit the ground running.
Yeah, like the quarantine is like extremely like a blessing and a curse. Like it definitely inspired a lot of people to try and do things, but also the world's closed off, so like it's harder to do them, but it makes you want to do it even more kind of thing. It's like super weird.
Yeah, when I was a kid, or when I was dropping out of school, I was like, did I graduate? I don't even remember. I was so delusional that I was like, that I would come up with these things. Like I didn't have any money, and like I was still living at my parents' house, and I still couldn't even like hang out with friends because I was like, I have no job. Quit my job, and I dropped out of school on the same day.
Wow.
And, but I would use it as like so proud. I had this mantra, and like would call my room the Friday Night Robotics Club. Just this weird name that I pretty much only said to myself, but it was like when everyone's out partying Friday nights, like I'm in here, like just writing blog posts. But it was like really stupid. But like the magazine was made in that like Friday Night Robotics Club, and like it was just working when other people were just what I felt like was wasting time. I now feel like that was like an incredibly like stupid way, because it's like you can only do so much, and you'll just burn yourself out, etc. if you do that over time. But I think it was also a necessary time that I'm stoked on. And to bring it back around, it's like when quarantine happened, I was like, this is being stuck inside. Like this is how I started my career. Like I'm so stoked about this. And I even made like this website really, like at the beginning of like March 2020 or something like that. I called it Self-Quarantine Creators Club, where it was just like, we can make stuff like remotely together. And then a bunch of social issues popped up that summer, and I was like, this is not a big deal anymore at all. This is like,
it wasn't as important as like what else is going on in the world. So that's totally fair. Yeah, but I feel as if things are changing now. Like I wouldn't necessarily say like the pandemic's over, but we have a lot more room for more creative stuff to be happening now. It's not as like there's still social things that will always be going on, but like we can totally afford to have like art to progress still.
Yeah, it's been cool to see the music industry open and show tours finally happening again. And
speaking of tour, you were just on the Nurture 2021 tour. How was that? Because he is great friends with James Ivey, and I love that guy's music so much. Like he's a huge inspiration. And I just wanted to know, like, what was the experience like with both of those guys and directing James's video?
Whew. Incredible. I mean, wow. It's the same. Okay, so like the way that you and I have like really similar tastes in music, and like in different eras, we both react to the same thing, which is really cool. Porter, for me, I was always like more of like a Flume guy, or like, I don't know, like this hip hop leaning kind of like sounds. Like that's just my natural thing that I like. But Porter, anytime I'd see him in interviews and things, I'd always just be like, that guy's like the kindest person of all time.
Yeah.
Would always respect him because he's building out his art. He's like a true musician. I saw him at Coachella in like 2016, I believe. He was doing the Shelter tour with Madeon, and he was like closing it there. And I just remember watching that set with my friends and being like, at the end of their set, they were like so grateful to be there. And he does this, and I realized how often he does it now because I've seen like all the shows. But and at that moment, I knew that I wanted to work with him sometime in the future, kind of just like planting that seed in my head. And then being like, oh my gosh, wait, I respect that guy more than anything. And then like in my notes and stuff, and like I'm a big journal guy, and I would honestly just say that's like part of like the manifesting part of all of this, and like following your taste is like a big part of manifesting what success is to you. It's like a lot of my favorite moments are just like, oh, I was a fan of this person in the Friday Night Robotics Club in my parents' house. but then like later on, I'll like be in a room and just randomly be in a studio with them, and then like they're really kind, and it's like those are the wins for me, not like getting the big check. And like Porter, going on tour with Porter, they knew me from the Flume like camp. Like Porter's social team worked with Flume's team, and like they just remember working with me when I was at Future Classic, and then they were like, Porter's now going out on the road and like needs a content guy. And I was just like, oh my god, like this is crazy. Like I always felt like him and I would get along, and it was like very extremely random, honestly, but felt kind of validating at the time, because I was just like, oh, this just feels like I'm continuing to progress, even though things aren't so linear. Porter is the kindest artist, and he has such attention to detail for like every part of the experience. He's not egotistical. He like has that festival that he cares about like the smallest details of, like and he's such a detailed producer, and everything that he does, like from a live show to merch stuff, and like he's just like really freaking great. But I didn't know James Ivy until getting on that bus. But like it was funny because Porter, like he was like, him and I were chatting and hanging out, and during rehearsals prior to the tour, like I was there for like a week and a half prior to when we were actually getting on the road. And he was like, have you ever met James Ivy? I feel like you guys would get along super well, and like you guys are like similar age group. And I was like, wait, Porter, I'm older than you, man. And he was like,
are you
what?
really?
Like, yeah, I'm 31.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you do not look 31.
Thank you, man. But Porter's 30 and James Ivy's 22. And so it was just really funny that like he would just like immediately assumed, or like they all kind of assumed, I imagine. But it was just like when I was getting to know you guys over the phone, like I was giving you guys these years, he thought I was just like this 14-year-old just like running around.
Yeah, I was actually looking at your biography on your website. I was like, oh, this guy's been working for a long time. Like how did he do this at such a young age? Like, oh, what? This guy does not look his age at all.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's really cool. Like, I don't know. I honestly, and then in high school, I didn't even really consider myself creative. And it was kind of just like this whole second wind of like my identity. Like played like sports and stuff growing up. So this whole art thing was kind of random. Kind of fun. It's been
kind of just happened.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's like I could see inklings of it, but just because I wasn't like a formal artist, like drawing and stuff all day, I don't think anyone thought that I would be in the art fields. But then I was always like a strong like web designer, and able to like, and really liked music videos and stuff. And I didn't realize that like those could be jobs later on.
You uploaded a picture on Instagram saying that you are like focusing on directing music videos, right?
Yeah, that's funny, man. Thank you so much for it. You're awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. I like to call my shots at the beginning of the year of like, this is what I want to focus on. I feel like I have a hard time of asking exactly what I want over the years, but then the more upfront I am about it, feels like it lets people know what they can hire me for, what I'll be the most excited about. And also just like, all right, I put it out there. Now I have to like go back to that statement at the end of this year and be like, all right, how did I do? And things are going well in there. I'm doing creative direction for a new artist. His name's Easy Mill. He's like he's like the biggest rapper coming out of the Philippines right now. Like Manny Pacquiao came out to one of his songs. He just got signed to this label under Capitol Records. And I'm slated to direct 4 of his music videos, oversee his entire campaign, from album art to single art and like press photos and stuff like that. And I feel like it's super organic relationship, especially since I'm trying to like empower like people that look like me, or like the community, the Filipino community. I work with as many Filipinos as I can, and like, or whoever I connect with, but like there's just not enough. But like to work on this project where he has millions and millions of views and visibility, and it grew up in the Philippines, I feel like this is like a meant to be type of job to kick off the year. I also like my very first project this year was shooting an album cover for Manila Killa, who's also Filipino.
Yeah.
And it's like, it seems like very like full circle type of start to 2022 when I couldn't even have really planned that. They kind of just came to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what the next few months kind of looks like right now. But I'm always trying to do a bunch of different things at once.
Yeah, that's really cool actually. What do you do on a project basis? I know that kind of changes because of like who you're working for and with. I
mean, the way that I go about any of the projects actually is like super DIY, just because I would love to just work on stuff solo every single time, but I feel like I'm realizing that when projects have a larger budget or there's more to be handled, a team is required. I love building teams with like my friends that are already doing this on their own, where we just like create like a superhuman, like really nimble 3 to 5 person team that like everyone's like a Swiss Army knife. And I think a lot of the ideas early on in my career were about like getting my expression out there, but now I feel like the most exciting stuff to me is like collaboration, where like gives someone a platform or ability to like express themselves, and I kind of take that and just like take that energy and rework it or add stuff on top. And basically what I do is just like deliver digital assets. And what needs to happen in a music cycle is music marketing campaign, I guess. If you're releasing an album, is like there are usually pillar music videos that happen, then making those music videos, but then for press, doing a bunch of photo shoots to like keep all of those, like the cover art and the single art and the music videos to be like in one contained world. I feel like G-Eazy and Flume and Porter, all of these artists that we've been talking about, Skrillex, all of their stuff that they post on Instagram, all of that content like all feels like a unique representation of them.
Yeah.
And I feel like what I do on a project-to-project basis is step into other artists' worlds and add to that narrative and like build upon the world that they're trying to build. And whether it's just like, oh, we've been doing this for 10 years and Porter Robinson pretty much has his own look down, or coming into like a James Ivey who has like 3 music videos out and they're like, make one the way that you would make it. And that was really cool to make that video, just because I didn't have to feel constrained at all. It was like I got to really enjoy building like a friendship and spending a lot of time essentially living with someone when you're living on a tour bus for 2 months.
Yeah.
And this was his first tour ever, and like wanting to just document that process, it allowed me to like get outside of my own head and just literally just be present and shoot with a friend. So on a project to project basis, it's like I get to morph myself and put my mind, have empathy as an artist, as if like if I was Porter and I was designing like something that I was going to post, like what would I do? Or like if I was G-Eazy on that stage, what visuals do I want behind me? I hope that kind of answered it. It's just a lot. It's different every time.
That's fantastic. That's perfect. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but if you had any last words for like any young people who are like trying to get their way into the industry, do you have any like certain like words of advice for them?
I feel like I get hit up in my DM about stuff like this of like, how do I even go about this? I think the thing that I constantly revert to and I have to remind myself of is that I was an outsider of this industry and like inspired by like what I was inspired by, like Tumblr, or it's uniquely you, whatever you care about. And like your taste is the exact like arrowhead of like how you should be guiding your own career, instead of trying to fit yourself in a box of other people's acceptance, because that box doesn't even exist. Like, and plus it's only right now, and that box is forever shifting. And so what I would always do is like already imagine myself working for Kanye West, or imagine myself working for Nike or whoever, and pretend like you're already there, and like have such a high standard for your work that like, yeah, like if you want to be like the creator that you envision yourself to be, you just already you already have to arrive there, and the work that you're making actively is just gonna like prove to people that you are that good. I think following your taste and using that as your superpower and defending that with everything, when you're in that flow state of like editing a video or something, and you're just trusting your taste and like trusting the energy of what you're getting from the clips, like there's no worse place to be in if you're second guessing every single step of the way. And so trusting your taste so that you can remain in flow when you're making stuff. And if people don't like it, it's like, I really don't care, because I made something that I thought was cool. And I feel like that will give you so much more confidence in your work as you're like getting started. And like, if you're just making your own version of MTV, your own version of like this magazine that you like reading, your own films that you shot on your iPhone or whatever, if you care about them and their stories that you like to be told, or like they just make you look cool, or like they make you feel cool, designing a t-shirt or something, just build your own world, build your own language, and invite other people to it, rather than trying to make yourself fit into other people's worlds. I saved it nearly at the end. I was like, what point am I trying to make?
It was all great. I honestly, like, people can pick out whatever really works for them throughout all of that. So I want to thank you again for taking this time to talk to me, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.
You too. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. This is so fun. Have a great day.
Yeah.